Pause, pivot. Conversations are pause, pivot. Conversations are pause, pivot. No more change, no more holding us back. Answering my purpose now. Embracing life lost now. Today's a new day. Let the old pass away. No more living till we say pause, pivot. Conversations are pause, pivot. Conversations are
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to your next episode of What's in Your Cup Conversations. Of course, I'm your host, your favorite inspirational transformational speaker, Consuela Nicole. And baby, you are in for a wild ride. But go ahead and come on in. As you come in, let me know where you are joining us from, because I know we now have, we don't have followers. We have villages all over the world. So I want to know where you are chiming in from. Make sure you go ahead and share this video out, no matter if you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube, because as you know, our conversations are definitely the answer to someone else's prayer. As you know, we're talking about what's in your cup conversations, right? Well, we're not just talking about your physical cup, but we're going to talk about that too today. We're talking about your mental, spiritual, and emotional cup, because as you know, we live in a society that, you know, we like the glitz and the glam and the highlights, and we like all the fluff and all the good stuff, but nobody about the hills and the valleys and the mountains that go in between it, and everything that you had to dump out of your cup to get to where you are. So you know you are in for a great show and a great time, and I'm excited. So let me tell y'all, your girl had a rough start today. So today we are sipping on throat coat tea, because baby, the way these vocals started acting up today, they was not playing with me. Definitely some back-to-back meetings and changing lives and all the things, but I needed as much voice as I had left to get in on today's show, because let me tell y'all, this episode has been in the works for almost, if not over a year. I'm just gonna put it out there. We have been working to make sure this guest was on for over a year when we started conversations about it, and I finally have her on. And it wasn't nothing that she did or I did. It was just life doing its thing and technology doing its thing. But we here now. Dr. Roy L. Johnson, I see you. Thank you for coming in. Make sure you share this out, right? So again, before we get started, of course, y'all know What's in Your Cup Conversations is on the move, right? So we are now going on location to certain places. We're going to different events and all the things. So if you want What's in Your Cup Conversations at your event, at your place of business, if you have a brick and mortar, send us an email at smile@consuelanicole.com. How can you miss that? Because I want you to smile at me, right? We're gonna talk about that smile in a little bit. Good evening, Danita. I see you. So let me tell y'all about this guest and this amazing person that's going to be joining me today. First, I am talking about none other than Miss Shelley Meche'tte. She is a celebrated Empower Her movement, and I emphasize that for a reason. She's a speaker, a certified life purpose and confidence coach, a life strategist, and a best-selling author who helps faith-given women, entrepreneurs release burnout, trade grind for grace, because we need that, and confidently thrive in faith, family, and business. As the founder of Power Herful Woman, Shelley empowers women to lead with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Let me tell you about these books. She is the author of 70 Days of Happy, Life is better when you smile, because it is. Power Her Minds and Women Inspiring Nations, and has been featured on CBS, NBC, ABC, Shondaland, and the list goes on. However, the most powerful part of her story is that she is a 3-time stroke survivor in one day. Her journey goes from crisis to redefine, calling fuels her mission. Boy, these vocals are challenging me today. Hold on, y'all. Her journey from crisis to refined calling fuels her mission to equip women with the mindset, boundaries, and spiritual grounding needed to lead balanced, fulfilling lives. Her message reminds women that true success isn't found in striving, but in alignment and faithful stewardship of their God given gifts. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, help me welcome Miss Shelley Meche'tte to the stage. Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you this evening?
Baby, look, these vocals is trying to get everything
You,
tongue
but you
tied
getting it.
and stop. Baby,
You
look.
getting it.
So let me tell you, right? So with this thing, and people always hear me say my vocals, I have what they call vocal cord paralysis. I
Mm,
have it. It don't have me.
okay.
So
You starting
sometimes it,
already.
right. So it makes me I have to slow down a tad bit
Mm-hmm.
and let my words catch up to the rest of me because I get so excited and I be trying to get it out. But it's like, can you take a breath so we can catch up with you? But how are you doing this evening?
Oh my goodness. Today has actually been a very productive day. So,
Okay.
I'm very happy about that. I woke up this morning and I was telling my husband, I'm like, this morning I really need to get up, and get in my word. I haven't been in my word as much as I need to. And I really do notice, I kid you not, that when I take time to get into my word first, and to take some time to pray and just
Mhm.
kind of, let God just be in the midst. I feel like my day's been a little more productive.
Baby. And it's not just busy, it's productive. There
Yes,
is a
there
difference.
is
I know
a
that's right.
difference.
I
Yes.
know that's right. So let me talk about that. As you know, I asked this first question of all of my guests, and you already started about how you get your day started. You heard me read part of your bio, right? And I saw that smile. It's something about hearing our bio read from somebody else, like, who is this
Hmm.
person, right? It
Hmm.
reminds us of the moves that we've made and how far we've come. If that's how I just introduced you to the world, right? How do Shelley introduce herself to Shelley every morning to get her day going?
Normally in the morning is really funny. Other than getting up and trying to really spend some time with the Lord is really important to me, especially after the things that I've been through in these past
Mhm.
9 months. It's very important that I have a opportunity to speak to my family. And so every day, I want to make sure that I look at my husband before he walks out the door. I want to make sure I see you before you walk out the door. I want to make sure I see my daughter before she walks out the door. My oldest daughter, a lot of times she calls me while she's on the road, in the morning. Or I may stop for a minute and give my mom a text or give my mom a call. I might jump in our family chat and just say good morning to everyone. So for me, my days start intentional as far as relationships are concerned. And so I want to make sure that I'm touching those relationships, my spiritual relationship, my relationship with my kids, my mom, my sibling, my man. So I want to feed into those every single morning before I start my day.
You know what? I gotta give kudos to you, first and foremost, because the one thing I did not mention in your bio about you being a mom or a married woman, right? And I was going to ask you about that because I know it because I see
Hmm.
it on your socials and things of that. I was like, why isn't that in her bio? But I get it because every time you talk, that my husband, my man, my kids, it's part of your own introduction. So kudos to you and your team, right? Because we need that. We need
Yes,
that.
yes. And they are
So
my
thank you
team.
for
They
that.
really are.
Yeah. Right, because baby, you got a whole story. You got a whole story, and we gonna dive into that story. However, I want to know first about 70 days of happy. What is that? Who can be happy in 70 days?
You can if you want to.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You
If
can
I
be
want to.
you could be happier. That book came about. That was my very first book, you guys. And the thing that I love about that book is I sat on it. I sat on that book for such a long time. When you're an author, a lot of times there's this misconception that you've got this idea, you got in there, you start writing, you know, everything was good, and boom, you came out with the book, da da da. And maybe that's somebody's testimony. I'm not her. Mine was
At all.
sat on it. I sat on the idea. I had did a challenge, and it was a 90-day challenge of just being happy. And I'm normally a pretty chill, a pretty happy person. But during this challenge, it was literally be intentional about it. So even when things are going wrong, intentionally choose your mood, choose happiness. And so when that challenge was over, I was like, you know what? That was a pretty good challenge. Let me take some of these things out of here and put some practical things in here, kind of that I learned. Right. And as I sat down looking at some of these things, I'm like, you know what? Let me break this down even more, because happiness is not even these things, in my opinion, that we think it is. Happiness is getting up in the morning, being able to smile with my family, before they leave the house. Getting up in the morning is going outside and running my feet through the grass. Getting up in the morning is actually, getting up. So let me take some of these things and put them into a book. But I sat on it. I sat on it for probably a year. The first thing I said to myself is, who are you that somebody want to read your words? That's the first thing that came out of my mouth. Who do you think you are? You're not special. Why would anybody want to listen to you? This is what was going on.
We have that.
Yes. What if it doesn't sell? What if nobody wants to see it? What if you make a fool of yourself? So I sat on it, and I watched several of my friends drop their books. And I was like, look at this. You still sitting on yours, but you have all of these wonderful colleagues who are amazing, and they're dropping their books. So one day I sat down and I said, what is the worst that can happen, Shell Dog? What's the absolute worst?
Not Shell Dog. Okay.
What's the absolute worst that's going to happen? Nobody buys your book. Nobody wants your book. People talk bad about you. What they'll never be able to do is take away the fact that you are a self-published author.
Yes.
That's the worst that you can do, is never buy the book. You still can't take away the fact that I published my very own book. And then my family, the team, was all on me like, did you say you was dropping a book?
That accountability is something else, ain't it?
And it'd be my youngest one. She'd be all in my business. And I'm like, dude, back up. And she like, but you said on Saturday you was going to have 2 chapters.
Yes. It'd be our own kids. It do. It do. That's how you know they listen to us when they want to.
Okay. But that's why I love that book, because that book really is a testament of the journey that I had to go through in order to be this person. And that journey was imposter syndrome. That journey was fear. That journey was doubt. That journey was looking at that person in the mirror and confronting the lies that I was telling myself, and letting those lies be my truth. So when I put what might be true up against what is going to be true, which is the fact that I will be a published author once I press that button, then what was true began to outweigh the what ifs it could be.
The what ifs, right. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What was one of the biggest imposter syndrome issues that you had to overcome for yourself?
Who do you think you are? You don't have enough to tell somebody else something. Now, mind you, at this time, I have been speaking for many years. I have been coaching for many years. I had done programs. My daughter jokes with me, and she says every time I tell her something, she's like, "Of course you did. Of course you started a program, Mom. Of course you did this is this." And she's like, "What haven't you done?" So even in that, I came and I sat down and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you've done an event. okay, yeah, you've done this, but you've never been an author. Who are you to? So I had to confront, and I really did have to go back and say, it's okay for me to say, baby, you the one, you that chick. It's okay for me to say that. It's
Yeah,
okay for me to go back and look at the things that I've done. I've put in work. I
you did.
have.
You
And it's
did.
okay for me to go back and to recognize that and say, baby, not only did you put in the work, you did good. So if they don't never listen to nothing you say, they bad because you know what you're talking about.
Yes. So let me ask you this, because you mentioned, the who do you think you are, and that I actually work with a lot of clients on breaking that particular chain and stereotype, because
Mhm.
that is something that gets handed down in families, right? Who do you think you are to want to, start a business, and who do you think you are to want to move outside the zip code? We don't ever leave the zip code in the neighborhood and all the things, right? Were you one of the first or the first in your family to pen a book or to self-publish or something of that nature?
Yes, I am the first one to do that, but I
Okay.
didn't come from that background. I didn't come
Okay.
from the background of who do you think you are. My mother
Okay.
was, oh baby, let me let them know who you are. That has
Come
always
on.
been, yeah, that has
Okay.
always been my mom. My mom has always been, you can do and you can do this, and my mom want to know why you not living up to the potential. She's she the
I
main one in
love
your
it.
ear, but
Okay.
but
Okay.
but here's the thing. I also grew up with a very low self-esteem because of
Okay.
color. So
Yes.
that's
Okay.
something that I had taken on too. And people think that it only stays in that particular lane, and it doesn't. It crosses over to how you feel about everything if you're not careful. It crosses over to if you're not good enough, or if you're not this and your color is wrong and your color is up to a point where it's like, well, make sure you don't put your face on the book, because it may not sell. Now, my face is not on that book, but it's not because I had a problem with it. But this is what I had to overcome. What is
Right.
the issue? So in the imposter syndrome, I had to go back to some of those things too, like you're talking about. Where is this stemming from? Where
Okay.
does the I'm not good enough stem from? And if I looked in the core on the inside, some of those things stem from all the way back to who do you think you are to actually pour into yourself. Accept,
Mm.
accept what you can accept. Don't put the bar too high. You accept. So you've already been a speaker. You see how it ties it. You've
Yeah.
already done it. You've done more than any dark girl should ever do. Be happy.
Right. Right. I love that. Okay, look at you breaking generational chains from the other side, right? Those
Yes.
stereotypes that social media and the streets,
And
because
right, right.
uh ma'am, you out in California, correct?
Yes, yes.
And them California streets can be a little, because I'm a Cali girl too, them California streets can be a little rough when you
It could,
not the
it could,
right shade of black.
it could be a little different. And again,
Right.
you have to realize this is stuff that I grew up with. I literally had a gentleman sit in my face and say, I don't care how pretty you are, I'd never date you. He literally told me that to my face. And
Seriously?
let me tell you my response. So I'm pretty.
Exactly. I'm pretty. Okay, thank you. Thank you for
I was like,
sharing your
yeah.
oxygen and your time, because you can't get none of that back.
But I
Yes,
was like,
you
how
would.
dare you stand in my face like you're the prize, like I would even want you.
Right.
So that's the thing that I was dealing with. The you should be happy, that somebody is interested. And
Oh
all of those
yeah.
things, all of those little fears came back to like, okay, I have a brother. It's just he and I, and he's a constant pumper when it comes to me. We're
Okay.
constantly cheering one another on, and I'm very grateful to that, because I can't even imagine people who have to deal with everything on the outside,
Right.
and
Right.
then you have to come inside and deal with the same. And even though my mom was pouring into me, for whatever reason, it couldn't compete with everything that was outside.
Outside, man. That balance is everything. That
Right.
accountability balance is everything. You know. However, you then had, well, you've had a lot of things happen in life that you've overcame. However, there is one massive thing that has taken place in your life that shook you up and changed you
Yeah.
for life, right?
Hmm.
Before we talk about that, I'm actually going to take a quick commercial break and we are going to be right back.
Are you paying more than $60 a month on copays and prescriptions and still stressing about when or if you can get care? That's not peace, and it's not how healthcare should feel. With Connect MD, you have one low monthly membership that covers your entire family. No copays, no waiting weeks to be seen, just 24/7 access to licensed doctors, therapists, and virtual care right from your phone on your time. From urgent care and medical health support to prescriptions and everyday medical needs, ConnectMD shows up when life happens. Choose access, choose simplicity, choose peace. ConnectMD, because your health deserves better. Visit what'sinyourcupconversations.com today for more information.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank y'all, and thank you, Connect MD, for that sponsorship. We are definitely going to be doing more sponsorships and more commercials because I got to give these vocals a chance to reset for a minute, man. So we that's how we gonna pivot because you know I'm all about the 3 P's: the pause, the pivot, and the push, right?
Yes, I love it.
Man, look, because life is gonna life. And we have to be able to pause and take a survey of where we at and what we're doing
Hmm.
and where we came from, and if we need to pivot anything and make any adjustments before we
Absolutely.
continue to push. But we're gonna talk about your pivot and your push because I asked you for a picture of a time in your life where you was like, enough is enough and change need to happen. You sent me a picture of you in a hospital bed.
Yep.
Explain to
Yep.
me and to us why you sent a picture of you in a hospital bed.
Yep. Whew. Yeah. Yeah, that was me. That was me. 2 days, or was it 2 days after I went into ER because of a pain in my head. And I ended up inside of ER having 3 strokes in one day. And that was me the day after I had been in the hospital. One of the nurses came in afterwards and she said, "Oh my gosh, you're still here." Yes. And she was so happy and she hugged me. But that was me after, and that was me doing good, y'all. That was me doing well after I had almost died from 3 strokes.
Wait,
I get excited every time. I'm not getting ready to get up and run, but I get excited every time I say it.
Not one, because a lot of people don't survive one.
Woo!
You survived 3 in the same day, still
Same.
sitting in the ER. Don't tell me my God ain't good.
3 of them. 3 of them. I had a pain the night before in my head. And really, I had a pain 2 weeks before. And because I have migraines, I didn't even really trip about it. But it was so hard. I said, I need to at least go get it checked out. Let me go see. Well, fast forward 2 weeks later, that same pain hit me so hard, it like pushed me back into my bed. I've never had any health issues, and I did not know the signs of stroke. But my daughter literally said to me that night, she said, "Why are you talking funny?" And she kind of tapped my lip. But again, because me and my kids, we always had this little back and forth, whatever. I said, "Girl," I pushed her hand away. I was like, "Girl, move, get out of my way."
Being that strong woman.
Neither one of us knowing that that was the sign that something more was on its way. So I went on to bed. I went to bed, and literally in the middle of the night, the pain hit me twice as hard. I literally jumped out of my sleep. It was so painful. And at that moment, I was like, okay, as soon as the sun comes up, I'm going. I'm like, because this, I was already going, but if I had any doubt, because
That was
my
it.
head was
Yeah.
totally throbbing. And by the time I got up, pain was gone. My husband had even asked, do you want me to take you to ER? I said, nah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get a scan. Probably need some stronger medicine. Not worried about it. Sat in the ER, girl, and you sit in the ER for a while. Well, I sat in the
Yeah.
ER for 2 hours, eating snacks and watching TikToks. That's how
She
concerned
said
I was. Eating snacks and watching TikToks. Yeah,
in the ER.
yeah.
What year did this happen?
This happened in May of last year. So 9 months. 9 months.
So we're not even a year out.
Not yet. Not yet.
So who
Not
do
yet.
you think you are?
Come on.
Better yet, who do you
Come
know you are?
And who do I know saves? And who do I know heals? And who do I know touch? And who do I know restores? And who do I know that makes whole? You're looking at a woman who lost her speech. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at a woman who entire 75% of my body went numb, and my left side was weak, and I was having a hard time lifting it up.
Baby, you moving and grooving now. You on stages and TVs and you giving speak, because I done did some research. I'm gonna need everybody else to go do their research, because I done seen you on the stages and moving and jumping and talking about the goodness of.
Come on.
Like I said, you survived something 3 times in a row in the same room that a lot of people don't survive one.
In a matter of hours.
What was you but you answered one of my questions prior to this. You was a healthy woman. Granted, you had migraines and whatnot, but there was no actual tragic health issues going on.
Nothing that I had known of. I went to the doctor every year for my physical. I got my blood work. One of the things that I had said to my doctor is I noticed that my glucose was a little high. And so my whole thing was, okay, what do we do about this? And she kept saying, well, I'm not really too concerned about it. I'm not too concerned about it. So when the strokes happened, I put it back on. Was it this glucose? What was going on? Mm-hmm. Turns out that wasn't it. But the idea that this was something that I had been asking about and it hadn't been dealt with, I became very upset about that, because then I began going, well, is there anything else that maybe I overlooked and you never said anything about it because it didn't seem that serious to you? She had mentioned to me some months before that my pressure was slightly elevated. And she said, do you want to go on meds? Well, who just wants to go on meds? You have given me no information. So I said, well, what do I need to do? It's slightly elevated. Watch your salt intake. Do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I never understood the severity of blood pressure. And after going to my cardiologist, after having several tests done, as it looks right now, it's just a matter of the vessels, unfortunately, getting thinner as I get older. And I'm still in different tests. But as it looks right now, it's not so much diet as it is life.
Okay, so that leads me to, because like you said, this happened in May. So you haven't even reached a year of recovery. So you are still in recovery and going through the process. Your life changed for you and your village.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you from your end, right? Like you said, learning how to walk again and how to talk again. What was that like for you?
Let me tell you how good God is. I didn't have to learn how to talk again, because by the time I went home, I was already talking.
Oh, amen. Okay, come on with it. He said you needed your voice for something.
But yes, so by the time I had reached the hospital, it was slow. It was slurred, but God was already restoring it. To this day, I have misses. So, my brain runs and I can't catch up to it. I can't catch thoughts. Sometimes, I forget words, and I forget simple stuff sometimes. But none of those things can outweigh the fact that I can speak. None of those things can outweigh the fact that I can still catch a thought, even if it take me a second. Don't get it twisted. I'm gonna catch
Baby,
it,
look.
and if I
Yeah.
don't catch it for me and throw it back. That's all.
That part, baby, that village, they can catch it for you. Baby, look.
Just
Yeah.
throw it back
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
help a girl out. So for me, a lot of it was in that moment when my husband and daughter arrived. I couldn't talk. Mind you, I had just spoken to my mom on the phone, and I had spoken to my husband, letting him know, hey, the doctors think that I just had a stroke. By the time he made it to the hospital, I couldn't speak because I had gone into a second one. And so
Jesus.
when he came in, it's like, oh, okay, all right. He didn't show it on his face, nobody was showing it on their face, but I tried to lighten the room, and through my slurred speech, and I said to him, how am I supposed to be famous when I can't talk? And everybody started, and they started laughing. But as I sat there, the reality began to sink in that I'm a speaker and I will never be hired again because I can't speak. And that's when everything began to really weigh down on me, that no one hires a speaker who cannot speak. And so what are you going to do? What am I going to do? The nurse had pictures in front of me, asking me to identify pictures, and the pictures were here, the words were here, but they wouldn't come out. And I don't even know how to describe the paralyzation of the two things not connecting, and to feel trapped inside of your own body, to not even be able to voice what it is that you think you see, to be able to put words to what's happening, to be able to communicate those words with someone, the paralysis of that, the fear of that, the uncertainty of that is where a lot of my tears and frustration came from, that this is all I know. This is all I know to do. And so if I don't have this, then who am I? What do I do if I cannot speak?
I know that feeling. I've never had a stroke, but I know the feeling of not having a voice. And during my season of silence, because I went almost 6 months without a voice due to
Wow.
vocal cords. And the one thing that God reminded me of, and that's how What's in Your Cup Conversations was birthed, was just because you don't have a voice, don't mean you can't be heard.
Wow.
Maybe you planted the seeds.
Wow.
He needed you to sit down for a minute for them to get watered, because you have also you've opened up platforms for other women. Because you got, that's why I got tongue tied trying to read what you did, because everything you have for empowerment has her right in the middle. So look, y'all, I'm gonna need y'all, and I said y'all, we're gonna keep it real. I'm gonna need y'all to go look up Miss Shelley Meche'tte across all social media platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Go find her, connect with her, make sure you order her book, because it is something there for everybody. And she's only given us a sample of what she has done and how she had to refill her cup. You're talking to somebody who taught somebody else, because y'all know me. You're looking and talking to somebody else who talked for a living, right? And survived not one, not two, but 3 strokes in the matter of hours in the same day. So being the superwoman that you are, right? We know you had to take that cape off for a minute, but you are a married woman, or however, you are a married woman and you have a village at home. How did it feel to have to depend on your kids and your husband or your mom to come in and help bathe you, or to, the little things that I'm gonna say that we take for granted, going to the bathroom or eating or picking up a cup. That's
Mhm.
like you said, you had to work on
Mhm.
getting that arm range
Mhm.
back. How did that feel? And what did you have to do to get through that? Because that's an issue for a lot of people.
Mhm. Absolutely. It was very vulnerable. It was very vulnerable. And and it sounds silly. It sounds silly when you say it, but it almost feels embarrassing. Like I shouldn't
Mm,
have to have someone take care of me. It sounds crazy, I know, but it's like my mom has her own issues and now I'm a burden to you. You know,
ooh.
my kids, they have their own lives, but now you got to take care of me. And really 90% of it was my mother. And like I said, my mom have her own issues. As soon as I left the hospital, my mom was like, you need to come to the house, don't go home, you need to come stay with me. So my mother was 24-hour nurse. My mother was making sure I take medication. My mother was cooking for me, literally cooking 3 times a
Mhm,
day, making sure I had food, checking on me. I suffered tremendous anxiety during this time. I couldn't
mm,
rest. I couldn't sleep. When the sun would go down, it would trigger me. I would go into panic attacks. My mother stayed up with me. My mother walked the floor with me. I could not sleep. Every 2 days after I came from the hospital, I was rushed right back to the hospital. My pressure was 200 over 100. And
Jesus.
yes, and I just felt, I felt my chest caving in, and so my family was with me all of this time. So it was a time of vulnerability. It was also a time of appreciation.
Mhm.
I love to work, and my mother took my laptop from me. And
Oh,
so
okay.
it was also a time of fidgeting. Like,
Yeah.
so what do you do when you're not on your laptop for 12 hours? What do you do with
Yeah.
all that time? Well, for me, I took time to do nothing. I took time to sit. I took time to have conversation with my mom. I took time to binge, binge the equalizer.
Right, right. Okay.
I took time to allow myself to be ministered to by God, because again, you have to
Mhm.
understand, I couldn't rest. I couldn't rest at night. I was scared to go to sleep. I was scared I wasn't going to get up. I was scared that I would die in the middle of the night, and no one, would hear me. And
No.
so every night I was in tears because I couldn't rest. And the
Mhm.
only peace that I found was in God's music, was in worship music, was in laying
Mhm.
out my heart before the Lord, was in reading his word, was in reminding myself of who he is. And that's the only way I would rest. And I would only rest for a couple of hours. And then I would jolt up in the middle of the night, just all over again. And the process would
Yeah,
start
got it.
all over until I saw the crack of dawn, or until I would hear my uncle come into the kitchen,
Um,
because he's a very early bird, and I would always hear him come into the kitchen. So the minute I hear him come into the kitchen, my whole body just,
that's when you relax.
and then I would fall asleep.
Okay. So let me ask you this, and this is something that's completely taboo, especially in the Black and Brown community. With everything that you just explained, right, of what your journey was like, at any point in that time or even now, did
Mhm.
you ever reach out to therapy?
I did not. And it wasn't because I felt that it was taboo. I think my thing was, I'm back and forth in the hospital. So for one, I wouldn't have been able to get to it. They would have to come to me, or it would probably have to be online, something like that.
Mhm.
But I think my focus was really getting better physically. And because
Okay.
I was constantly going back and forth to the hospital, being able to go and get therapy, it just was not the first thing on my mind. For what, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I stayed back and forth, hospital
Right.
home. So no, but now, I think now I actually ended up walking through it a bit better, but I
Okay.
still believe that I could use some therapy to compartmentalize
Some.
everything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I still think, because there are still days, literally, that I wake up in the morning and I'm like, Are you okay? Or I'm checking
Okay.
my pressure, obsessively. Are you okay? Pressure goes up and down all
Of
throughout the
course.
day. That's
Of
what
course.
pressure does. And I have to remind myself, Shelley, that's what pressure does. It all day long, it goes like this. But for me, if I see a certain number, I even had to come out of that. I had to come out of obsessively checking. I had to come out of too
Ooh,
much
okay.
information because I was Googling everything. What does it mean if you blink 4 times? What does it mean if you
Shelley,
this?
not the Google. You did not become a Google doctor.
I did. What if your head itch on the left where you had, what if this happened? Oh God, am I dying? It was so much. And then the spiritual side of it. I'm not supposed to fear. I'm not supposed to do this. Am I saved? Am I not saved? Does God really? It was
Hmm.
just so much falling on me that even in the midst, and then to top it off, again, I didn't want to be an emotional burden to my family. I felt like you guys have gone through so much. And they were in the hospital with me all day, every day. My family didn't sleep probably for 30 hours
Mm.
straight.
Jesus.
And then my husband would leave the hospital and go to work. And then he would get off work and come and see me at my mom and bring me food, get my dinner for me, bring my clothes, whatever it is that
Right.
I
Right.
needed. And then he would sit with me for hours, and then he would leave and he would go home, and then he'd turn around and go back to work again. So now in the midst of this, you have my mother calling him at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Shelley had to be rushed to the hospital. And so you have him.
Hmm.
However many days later, Shelley is gone back to the hospital. And then once I got home with my husband, going back to the hospital. Are you okay? Going back to the so
Right. Right.
it
Right.
was
Right.
a lot on them too.
Okay. What? Jesus. You overcame.
Yes, and
You
still
are victorious,
overcoming.
and you're still overcoming. What is a day in the life like for Shelley right now? Because of course your whole mental state had to
Yeah.
change, right? So you can't. Well, I'm assuming you cannot be on the go like you once was,
Mm-mm.
going, 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 going.
Mm.
So you had to reprogram, and I'm gonna say reprogram. You had to
Yep.
reprogram your own state of mind and your own priorities, and be more intentional
Yep.
about what you were doing and how you were doing it. What does that look like now for you? Talk to the women out there, not
Mhm.
even just women. Talk to the people out there who has that superwoman or superman cape on now, that's going, going, going. Like you said, you didn't know what the signs were because you never
Mhm.
had experienced it. And of course, the signs can definitely be different for everybody depending on
Yes.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
But what would you tell that person who's constantly going, who don't know how to stop?
Well, first you asked, what does my day look like now? And in all
Mhm.
honesty, I've always been an intentional person, but
Okay.
truth be told, I love the grind. I love the
Okay.
hustle. And I was taught that the hustle is where it's at. If you're not hustling, you know what I'm saying, then what is you doing?
What
If
you
you're
doing?
not
Right.
taking right, if you're not taking on too much, if your plate not full and topped and then a little bit of, nachos on top, what you doing? What
Right.
what you
Right.
mean? The whole thing is we supposed to rest when we dead. That's the motto.
Right.
So for me, what my day looks like now literally is grace over the grind. And what
Hmm.
that means is alignment. What that means is starting my day saying, here's my calendar, but I give you, Lord, I give you reign to change it around. I give you reign to say to me, I know you have 5 things on your calendar today, but I need you to end your day at 2 instead of at 8. And me going, okay, Lord, let me go ahead and wrap this up because, my body obviously needs a little rest. What I find is in the rest is where I get the ideas. In the rest is where the implementation drops so that I can get up the next day refreshed and work on that thing. What it looks like for me now is not working on 10 things at once. And I'm still learning that one because that's where my groove is, to have
Hmm.
5 projects going on at one time. But what I'm learning is, again, to complete, it's okay for me to just complete a project. I get antsy when I don't have 18 other things to do. So
Okay.
it's me going, let's be productive and not busy. And so you asked about my day today. I was productive. I did more chapters in my book that's coming out. There are 6 other things. Come on now. There's
Okay.
6 other things that I need to do. I'm also in the midst of having my website redone. I also need to get some products out and some digital things out. But the priority is we spend 80 to 90% of the time, as far as work is concerned, working on the priority. And the priority is the book. So now we'll spend 10% working on getting some digital products together. Now, that 10% may be you don't work on that until Thursday, not
Okay.
you work on it every day for 6 hours, 10 hours. It's
Right.
today might be the day just to get the ideas. Today might be the day just to do the research. Today might be the day just to play with titles.
Got it. Okay. I love this. So you didn't already put the buzz out there that you're working on a new book, because I was gonna
Yes,
ask,
I am.
is there a new book coming from this? Because baby,
Yes.
I know you just touched it. So what can we look for besides the book you're working on?
Mhm.
What's next for Shelley? What can we find you to either support you, or the woman that's looking for, her next step, who
Mhm.
just came through what you're going through, right? Or who may even be the support person for
Mhm.
someone who's going through what you just came through. What for how can they reach you, or do you have a program already out there that can
I
help?
do I do have a program, but because God is redefining me, I'm
Okay.
redefining that program. I used to
Okay.
work with mompreneurs, helping them balance motherhood and business. And so
Okay.
God has just refined that just a little bit, where now I'm working with faith-driven womenpreneurs so that they can balance faith, family, and business through grace and not grind, because we're not going to do this burnout thing anymore. We're
Yeah.
not going to do 15 businesses or fail at 15 businesses before we find the 16th one that works. No, we're going to sit in the face of God and we're going to say, hey, Lord, where should I go? Which route should I take? Who should I connect with? So that you're not
Mhm.
connected with 80 people and getting hurt and stunned and getting all your money taken before you connect with the right one.
Right.
And so for me, what I'm working on, other than the book, is hopefully a book tour that I'll be doing with that. I'm also working on some virtual events, so that we'll be
Okay.
doing that. And I want to go back, and I will eventually, when God says, I'll go back to the stage, to in person as well. And I want to work with women now. I want to work with faith driven women who want God leading their
Okay.
lives, their relationships, and their businesses. And so, what we want to do is we want to balance those things together with God at the center. And so, that is what God has taught me and is teaching me in this season of my life, that everything is seasonal, and you can't take what happened last season and try to force it into this season and think you're going to create a new season. It doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
That's called
Season.
frustration. That's called bitterness. That's called anger. That's called runaround. That's called I'll never succeed at what I was called to, because I'm too busy chasing what was never for me.
You know what? It's time to pass I'm just saying. So I was saying. So I definitely want to make sure I support you in whatever it is you got going on when God tells you to release it, right? There are a lot of women that follow me right now, um, that could use what you are putting together, right? What you are reevaluating and what you're pivoting on.
Hmm.
So please, please, please make sure you keep me in the loop. I don't care if you tag me in it, send it to me email so I can get it out there, especially when you start doing your virtual workshops. Uh, because
Absolutely.
you get to touch
Yes.
lives all
Yes.
over the world, right? Because unfortunately, everybody don't get to enjoy the California weather, right? They may be in different states and different time zones, but if they can connect with you virtually
Yeah.
for what you're doing, and I really love the fact that it's not, because you are a smart woman all day long, right? I'm not
Thank
questioning
you.
that, but I love the fact that you're not just regurgitating from a book.
Right.
You're talking about real life experience, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're talking to them about what you absolutely know,
Exactly.
first and foremost, and like you said, leaving God in the core and at the center
Yes.
of it, because too many of us, and I say us because I went through that because I questioned him a whole lot. God, what you talking about?
What you talking about?
Why? Right? I man, look, me and him had some late night conversations.
Mm-hmm. Us
Why
too.
sessions,
Okay.
right? So it may be somebody out there now that is like having those hard conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and you may be that one that's going to bring them back to their relationship with God. So, uh, before I let you go, because we live in a world that shuns the beautiful, shuns the flawed and praise the beautiful. What does it look like to you, and what does it mean to you to live a life with no more limits while being beautifully flawed?
Oh man, I love that. I love being beautifully flawed. I think first, living that life means to be able to accept that I can be beautifully flawed. I think we think that those two sides cannot exist within one another. I think we feel like if we're flawed, it takes the beauty away. And to be beautiful inside out, whatever it means to not walk with flaws. But for me, I believe that being able to be beautifully flawed means to be able to be open, means to be able to allow myself to grow. It means an opportunity for me to connect and to see where I can sharpen you. Because
Mhm.
your flaws, whatever they are, whatever the scars or anything that we're working with, it doesn't take away who we are. And I think we get that mixed up. That just because I had two children out of wedlock, that takes away from my beauty. Because I used to be in gangs, that takes away from who
Mhm.
I am. Because I've done some things that others would question, then now I'm undeserving. And
Mhm.
all of those things are, if we allow them to, what I love about God is he masters in putting pieces back together again. So all the pieces that have been broken, he knows how to take it and beautifully craft it into a story and a life that will not only be a blessing to others, but that will be a blessing to me.
I love it. I love it. Well, Miss Shelley, I want to thank you for joining us here on What's in Your Cup Conversations. Make sure you guys join us in 2 weeks for our next, because y'all know we here every other week because we have some tough conversations going on. So make sure you share it out. But Miss Shelley, I want you to leave us with the last words, right? If they don't remember anything you've said at all, what are the two takeaways you need them to remember and ingrain? What would that be?
It would be number one to hold on to your smile, and meaning set daily intentions for yourself, whatever that may be. Maximize and maintain flexibility so that when God redirects you, you're okay with that. Invest in your rest and your renewal so that you'll be prepared and ready for those things that God pours into you. Let go of grind and allow grace to replace so that God can lead you. And then engage in your purpose, passions, and the hobbies that God has given you so that you will be able to pour life back into yourself with the things that He has blessed you with internally. That creates your smile. And it's something that if you hold on to, no one will ever be able to take away from you. So I would leave you with that. And I would leave you with, wherever it is that you are supposed to be in life, just know God has already prepared it for you. All you need to do is step.
Oh, I love that. Thank you very much. And on that good note, guys, thank you for joining us for this episode of What's in Your Cup Conversations. I am Consuela Nicole. We have Miss Shelley Meche'tte with us, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.
Good night.